What's poppin', everybody? This one is about the largest gang in the New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision in terms of volume and members. Tune in. Welcome back, everybody. It's good to get another video out for y'all. I hope everybody's having a good day. I am off today from work and just taking some time to take care of some chores around the house and maybe run a few errands. And I definitely wanted to get a video out for you all today because I want to stay consistent with this YouTube thing and want to continue to provide you guys with some good content y'all enjoy and take some value away from. So, you know, I just got to go through the quick spiel at the beginning of the video like most people do. If you enjoy this content, I'm obviously trying to grow as a content creator. Would like to be able to grow this thing and turn it into something special and continue to do this for plenty of time to come. So, as you know, any support you show by liking, subscribing to my channel, turning on notifications, by hitting the bell, commenting, sharing the video, and so on, all those things tend to boost the algorithm on the algorithm notices when you guys do these activities, and it suggests the video to other people so that they can see it. So if you support me and enjoy these videos and want to be helpful and be a friend and show some love, please do some of those things, because it'll mean the world to me and it'll motivate me to want to continue to provide good content for you guys that you can enjoy. So, of course, I know that's probably boring, me going through that, but it's kind of a thing that needs to be said at the beginning of videos. So I will go ahead and jump on into the topic of today's video, which gang is the largest gang in the New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, where I served time for, I did 2 bids, 1 to 3 year sentence, which I've got a story I posted about how I got that time, as well as, sorry guys, someone's calling, I just had to decline it real quick. Sorry, I got a little distracted there, but I did a 1 to 3 year sentence, which I posted a video about that. How I caught that bid and you know, the reason why I had to serve that time, but I also did a 2.5 year sentence. The first one's for burglary, the second was criminal sale of controlled substance, and I plan to post a video at some point about how that all transpired, and I caught that 2.5 year sentence with 2 years post-release supervision after I was released. Okay. Who is the biggest gang in the Department of Corrections in New York? That would be, you may have guessed it, as you've seen from the thumbnail. And if you guessed the Bloods, you guessed correctly. They are very well known. Very any facility you go to, there's going to be sets. And the thing is with Bloods, just because there's a large number of them doesn't mean that they always vibe and click and get along, you know. There's different sets, depending on who's at the prison at the particular time, and, who the big homie is. The big homie's like the guy, the main shot caller for the gang. They call him the big homie. You know, they might ask someone, like say someone comes in new to the facility that's claiming blood. They'll ask him, who's your big homie? Like, who brought you in? When they say who brought you in, I don't want to put too much of I don't know everything about the gang because I'm not a Blood, but I actually did know some guys and was cool with guys that were Blood. I worked out with them, walked and talked with some of them, did business with them. We trade stuff, like stuff from packages, and some of the guys were cool, others not so much. Some were more a little bit, not the best to be around, you know what I mean? Not to talk smack on the gang, but I think a lot of it, some of them had good character qualities, even though they were affiliated, and others kind of were more on like grimy, get over on people type activities, you know, take advantage and abuse, you know, use their position in the gang to dominate and abuse other people for financial gain or whatever the case may be. But like I said, I don't want to totally bash the gang because there were decent guys, you know. You know what I mean? And I understand why they joined a gang. I personally never joined one, but I never grew up in a neighborhood where everyone you walk past. I've lived in neighborhoods that were rough, but I've never grew up in a neighborhood where every person you walk past is probably strapped and has a gun in their waistline. You know, of course I have been in neighborhoods where people do walk around like that. You know, I never really so much had to constantly be in potential fear of being shot at, mugged, killed, robbed, whatever. So some of these neighborhoods, if you don't click up with someone, if you're a solo lone wolf, you know, you're going to be a target, you know, and it's almost essential. You know, I think places like Chicago and LA, I would imagine even parts of New York City and some other big cities, you know, certain neighborhoods, if you're not affiliated and you ain't got some type of backing, it's not going to be good for you. But also there's other benefits that come with being a gang member. You know, there's the financial side. You know, a lot of time you're connected to get large volumes of drugs at, you know, at a discount. You know, you can get stuff on consignment. Consignment is basically like me, pretend I'm a large drug dealer, just hypothetically. I'm not, but let's just pretend I am. Consignment is, say I have, you know, bricks upon bricks of cocaine. If you didn't have the cash up front to pay for it, and say I give you a brick, which is a kilo, you know, 2.2 pounds, 1,000 grams, I could give that to you, or you could put a down payment. Say you put $5,000. Last time I remember, I think a brick in New York City was like 25 or 30 grand. It's been a while. I haven't been in the drug game in a while. I don't know. That may have changed. It may have went up. May have went down. I know the market can tend to kind of go up and down, so it may be different now. I'm not sure. And I know it depends on where you live in the country. And, you know, like out in Cali and Texas, it's probably cheaper as well, you know. But I might be way off on that number now. But last time I remember, I think of like raw, uncut, it was like 25 to 30 grand a brick. But anyways, consignment is, say I'm a large drug dealer. Say you only have $5,000 up front. I could give you that whole brick on consignment. And, you know, you give me that down payment, and as you get rid of it, you're paying me back for the brick. You know what I mean? And once you get rid of that whole brick, then I can give you more. Or, you know, at that point you might have cash. You might have made enough profit to where you can just buy a half a brick. You know what I mean? And then as you flip that brick, then you could come buy a whole one, and so on and so forth. You know, so consignment is, you know, I guess it could be beneficial if you're someone involved in the drug game. I'm not saying it's beneficial to be a drug dealer, but it's a very common way of doing business, you know. The way that some of the lower level guys work their way up the chain, you know. But, you know, a lot of the gangs have those connections. They're plugged in. They have backing, like muscle-wise. You know, there's a little bit of fear and respect that comes with them, you know, and being in a gang. Especially if your gang has that reputation for that. But gosh, my goodness, my phone, people keep texting me and calling me. I apologize. I don't think it's beeping on y'all, but anyways, I keep seeing it on the screen pop up. Sorry for the distraction. But so I got a little sidetracked. Even though there is a large amount of bloods, that doesn't mean they're all mesh and get along and everything's peachy with them. There are different sets. And I think it even goes as far as like subsets. Like you got key sets like, for instance, the Pyrus, the P-Stones, the G-Shines, the Brims. And some sets are more about like hustling and getting money like that. And some are more on like strong arm robbery, stick up kids type getting money, you know. Some are more doing like the clean way. The clean way being like earning it through sales and stuff like that. Selling drugs. I guess when I say clean, like the less grimy way, you know. You know, others are just about by any means. You know, they'll take it from you, they'll kick your door in, whatever, you know. But, you know, you got those sets, and then, you know, there might be a street like 18th Street Brims or whatever, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's a real set. Please don't quote me on that, but there's specific subsets of each one. And I'm using the word subset. That might not be the proper term for it, but that's the way I kind of understand it, and the best way I know how to describe it. But anyways, so these the Pyros, the Brims, the G-Shines, the P-Stones, there may be even more sets than that. There's, I think there is more than that. I'm pretty certain there is, but they don't always mesh and get along. And a lot of time, I've seen violence, fights, cuttings, and things of that nature that were blood on blood against each other. Attacking each other. One violated another, or violated a rule that shouldn't have been violated, or one set disrespected another set, or someone's false claiming, say someone's claiming to be a Brim but they're not, and I'm not for certain on this, even though there is different sets. If someone's false claiming, I think, like, if they're claiming to be any type of blood, no matter what the set is, I think they can still be held accountable by any set for that. You know what I mean? Say they find out, ask them who their big homie is, they do the research and find out they haven't been brought home, then they will be dealt with accordingly, And that could vary from beating, a real bad beat down to cutting, stabbing, kill, it can go to the highest level, So, so I want to dive in a little bit about, in New York, okay, so the original Bloods originated out of Los Angeles, California. If you know much about gang history, I used to watch Gangland a lot, the TV show, but also something I enjoy watching a lot is like true crime, mafia stuff about the cartels in Mexico, different gangs here in the United States, from Latin Kings, Trinitarios, Bloods, Crips, Aryan Brotherhood, biker gangs, there's so many different kinds, from all different races, and it's very interesting to me. It's fascinating to learn about these underground cultures and gangs, because it's something that's not talked about a lot. It's just very fascinating. I've always found it fascinating to learn about them. But so in New York City, the rise of the Bloods didn't really start, I think, until the end of the 80s, early 90s. And a lot of that was attributed to one person that really got the Bloods going. And I'm going to read, I pulled this from Wikipedia, the guy that really kind of got things. So I'm going to read a little bit, just a brief couple paragraphs here about this individual who goes by the name OG Mac. And his real name is Omar Porti. And this is the guy that is believed and is pretty certain to have been the reason why Bloods exploded in New York State Department of Corrections. It started in Rikers Island and made its way into the prison system, the DOCCS. So here it is. Okay, this is Wikipedia, OG Mac. We're going to talk about here, so you guys can understand who he is and how he affected the Blood gang and really got his culture huge. And this guy's probably the main reason why they got as big as they did. So here it is. OG Mac. Omar Porti, also known as OG Mac, born circa 1969, is an American gang leader known for founding the 1-8 Trade Gangsters and United Blood Nation while serving time at Rikers Island. His organizations, like we said, were the United Blood Nation, 1-8 Trade Gangsters. He's actually serving time now in the feds in the United States Penitentiary ADX Florence, Colorado, the most secure prison probably in the world, definitely in the United States, for high-profile inmates and inmates that are very violent and hostile against staff and other inmates and such. But okay, so here's his background. So I clicked a little tab here, it drops down, it says the background. And there's a few paragraphs here I'm going to read to you guys about him. Background. In the early hours of August 16th, 1987, Porti claimed to have witnessed Don Taylor shoot and kill Terrence Joyner in Bronx, New York. Based on Porte's eyewitness testimony, Taylor was convicted on April 25th, 1989, and sentenced to 22 and a half years to life. At the time of his original testimony, Porte was facing multiple charges in New York stemming from his arrest on August 31st, 1987. Porte faced substantial prison time, 16 2/3 to 50 years if convicted. Instead, as part of a cooperation agreement, which included his testimony against Don Taylor in People versus Taylor, Porte was allowed to plead to a 2 to 6 year sentence for all charged crimes, which was 2 first-degree robbery convictions. He received credit for 21 months' time served and was promised a favorable letter to the parole board. He started serving his sentence on June 9th, 1989, and he was released on June 20th, 1990. Porte later recanted his prior testimony, and Taylor's conviction was vacated in 2004, whereupon Taylor was released from prison after serving over 10 years. Porte and fellow inmate Leonard O.G. Deadeye McKenzie established the United Blood Nation while incarcerated in 1993, which was here we go. This is where this really tunes into what I was talking about here. Porte and his fellow inmate Leonard O.G. Deadeye McKenzie established the United Blood Nation while incarcerated in 1993, which was responsible for spreading gang violence from Los Angeles to New York City. So they spread the culture of the blood culture from LA all the way over to New York City, because the Bloods did not originate out of New York City. They're a California gang originally. Porte was released from jail in 1999 and returned to the streets to build the Bloods into a powerful street gang. Branches were created in different areas of the city, such as the 1-8 Trey, which is in the Bronx, 9 Trey Gangsters citywide, Valentine Gang, the Bronx, Sex Money Murder, the Bronx, Grenade Gang, the Bronx, and G-Shine, Brooklyn. He was convicted of 10 counts of criminal activity, including racketeering, murder, conspiracy, credit card fraud, and drug trafficking on August 27, 2002. He was sentenced to 50 years and is currently incarcerated in the ADX Florence in Fremont County, Colorado. That's not a good place to be. That's where El Chapo is right now, and what's his name? Ted Kaczynski. I think that's the Unabomber, and some of the guys involved with like blowing up the World Trade Center, and I think the guy that bombed the Boston Marathon. Like some of the most high-profile people in the country are in this prison right here. So back to the paragraph. It's almost done here. In 2021, Porte was moved from ADX to United States Penitentiary Florence High in the ADX step-down program. As of January 2022, Porte is back at ADX. So he had dropped down a level and went to the Florence USP, which is a high federal prison. But he did something, or something must have happened, because they bumped him back up. Because while Florence has a high prison USP, ADX is like a supermax. It's the most secure of the most secure. So apparently the Florence High wasn't secure enough for an inmate of his caliber. Okay, so, and this is the last little sentence here. It says, in 2018, Porte was profiled in an episode of the documentary series Gangsters, America's Most Evil. And he also, you can Google search it, OG Mac, or not Google, YouTube search it, OG Mac, or founder of Bloods. I would imagine just either Omar Porte you can type in, Portee, first name's Omar, O-M-A-R. You can type that in, or OG Mac, M-A-C-K, and he had an episode, it might be on YouTube, the full episode on Gangland, which was very interesting and talks about a lot of what I just told you guys about. But from my experience with the Bloods, white people aren't allowed to be a part of it. I believe some Hispanics are allowed. It's primarily a black gang. like I said, the culture of each set and in each prison will vary depending on who the big homie is. A lot of the behavior that goes on in the facility is influenced by who's calling the shots, you know. And some of the shot callers are more about kind of more keeping the peace and getting money, kind of more in a less in a way that's going to draw less attention to them, you know. And you can use your imagination on that. You know, I spoke a little bit about that, you know, how they can do that. But in others, it's more dominating, iron fist. You know, let's flex our power on other people in here and take what we want, you know. So I always respect. I never really cared much for a bully, you know. But you know, there was some guys in there that were solid, you know, and they stood on their word and were solid, you know. Had a good program they went by while doing their time and were respectful to other people, and you know, some have looked out for me actually a few times, you know, while I was in there. You know, they didn't have to do that. I'm not a part of their gang, you know. And I'm white too, you know, so I mean, not to sound racist or anything, like, you know, they had no obligation to look out, but there's situations where, you know, some took up for me, you know. I mentioned that in one of my videos about, I think the title was, I was tried by a lifer in the worst way in New York State Prison, where a prison lifer tried me in a, you know, basically in a booty bandit type of way, and I had to handle that situation. But so I hope that gives you guys some insight. You know, there's a guy named Saint Laz, st.laz, and he did a lot of time. I think he did like a 3 to 9 year sentence. I forget it. It was something like that. Or it was 3 to 9 or 3 to 6, something like. I think it was a 3 to 9. I believe for like a manslaughter. And he talks about he was serving time. I recommend you go check his channel out if this topic interests you. But it's Saint Laz, L-A-Z. I think it's like short for Lazarus or something. But he's actually was God body. I don't know if he still is or not. But he talks about, you know, while he was serving his time on Rikers, and once he came upstate into the prison system, his experience of witnessing, and he interviews and brings a lot of guys on the show that were doing time around the time that the Bloods were expanding, you know, and at that time a lot of Hispanic gangs were more in power, you know, and there was a lot of wars, you know, control over certain yards, you know, as soon as you know, say a Blood controlled the yard, as soon as a, you know, let's say a Trinitario or a Latin King came on the yard, they would, you know, they would eliminate them quickly, or vice versa. Say it was a more Latin King, Trinitario, whatever type yard. As soon as a Blood came on, they'd take care of him immediately with physically harming him, and so to get him out of there, you know, because they didn't want them to get their numbers up and them to be an issue and go to war with them, you know, because nobody wants to go to war. That's usually bloody, and while guys aren't afraid to fight, you know, we all won't want to die, and most people want to avoid having tons of casualties and tons of time in the box and catching a whole new case and end up getting more time added on. Like, while that does come a lot with being in a gang, a lot of guys do try to avoid that and find other ways to, you know, get money and have ways of benefiting the gang as a whole, you know, so all the members benefit. But, you know, they're definitely, you know, I guess I'll get ready to conclude this. I feel like I've touched a lot. There's a lot more details and rules that they go by. And I don't know if it's my place to put that out there, you know, like, for instance, what does Blood stand for? Like BLOD, like that stands for something. Some of their individual rules that are more for the members to know, kind of on a need-to-know basis, which are for members, and like why I have learned some of those things while I was in there. I don't know if I feel like it's my place to put that out there. You know, they're more the more intimate details of the gangs. I don't know if intimate's the right word, but more private details of the gang for members. But you know, members are definitely held accountable. If they violate, they're handled by other members, you know, and you know, if it's a real set, you know, there is a level of order and structure, you know, with higher ups and different ranks, you know. But you know, all in all, their numbers are far surpass any other gang. From all the spots I was in, there's way more. I mean, literally almost any. Like, don't take this the wrong way. It's not a race thing, but any black person you meet, and they also have a lingo, you know. Like, oftentimes they'll say stuff like "suwu," you know, that's kind of like a gang call, or like they'll go "brrrt, brrrt," you know. I can't do it right, but you know, "brrrt, brrrt," you know. But that's like a blood thing, or they'll say "what's poppin' scrap" to each other, like when they greet each other, "what's poppin' scrap," you know, call each other scrap. So like a lot of times, if you see and hear them saying those things, you can identify immediately if they're blood. Like, that's an immediate giveaway. I know he's blood, you know, or at minimum he's affiliated. But you know, usually if you're doing those things and you aren't blood, then you're gonna be dealt with. You know what I mean? Because you can't false claim or false flag in there. You know. So yeah, their numbers are crazy. Like, when you walk down any given moment you're walking down the walkway to chow or to the yard, there's always going to be some, you know, no matter where. If there's a large movement going on, or shoot, even a small movement, you're gonna encounter them, you know. So I hope this video is informative, gave you all some insight on the largest gang in the New York State prison system. I got released in 2014, unless that's changed, which I do not think it has. Between 2014 and 2023, they still are the largest, and you know, I would imagine that comes with being the most dominant too, because their numbers, whoever's got the most numbers is usually on top, you know. But then again, some facilities there may be more Hispanic gangs, you know. The runner-ups, I would say would definitely be Hispanic gangs, you know. So there might be facilities that are more controlled by Hispanics, but I would say, for the most, and this is no disrespect to Hispanic folks, please don't take that the wrong way, but from what I've witnessed and been around, there's definitely far more bloods, you know, than any other set or any other gang. So I appreciate you all. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Took some information, some knowledge away from it. Took something away from it, and ultimately, at the end of the day, I gotta leave y'all with one thing, you know. Try to leave y'all on a positive note. While I understand why some people join these gangs, I always think it's better to not join them, because whenever you join a gang, you can't just do what you want. You are held to a certain code of conduct. You will be held accountable. You will be given orders that you are expected to fulfill. And if you don't, there will be consequences. Like I said, it does come with perks, like ways to make lots of money, backing like from other gangs and violence and things of that nature. But you know, you can catch a whole lot of new time, you know, by being in one of these gangs. And say you're given an order to slash someone across the face with a razor. Guess what happens if you don't slash that person with a razor? It's probably gonna happen to you, you know. So there's a lot of risks and negative sides to it. You know, like I said, there are some positives, you know, especially if you're in a really bad facility, or you live in a really bad neighborhood where you could be easily preyed upon. But generally speaking, I think it's better to be your own man and to stand on your own 2 feet and make your own decisions, because you might do something while you're part of that gang that you'll regret later on down the road, and could ruin your life or cost you your life and you die, you know. Or, you know, have to spend more time away from your family, doing 10 more years, or a life sentence, because in order you're given to do a hit on somebody, you know. So ultimately, it's best to be your own man. Carry yourself like a man, be respectful, work out, stay in shape, treat others with respect, and you'll get respect. Act like a man, you'll be treated like a man, you know. It took me a while to learn some of those things, because when I came into the prison system, I didn't have my head on right. I didn't understand the rules and how to be a man, you know. That doesn't mean you're not going to ever have problems, but for the most part, you'll have a much smoother bid according to how you carry yourself, you know. So, but yeah, I'll leave you all with that positive note. Hopefully that left y'all with a good little gem to carry away with. But I do love and appreciate y'all so much. And like I said, if you could interact with this video in any way, like, subscribe, all those other different things, share, comment, click the notification bell, I would appreciate it so much. And I'm going to get moving here and get some stuff done around the house. I love you guys so much. Y'all have a good day, and I hope you enjoyed this. Take care.